These precious relics from Afghanistan's ancient past were recovered and returned in April this year. Their long-term security, however, is by no means certain. The collection of 33 artifacts now returned was seized from a New York-based art dealer who authorities say was one of the world's most prolific smugglers of antiquities. Archaeologist Professor Peter Stone says the trafficking is in most cases connected to other forms of organized crime, and army raids on smugglers have shown just how close the relationship is.
On one side of the room, there are illicit guns. On the other side, there are stashes of money. On the third side, there are drugs. And on the fourth side, there are antiquities. It's the same problem. And antiquities and cultural property in general is just a facet of large-scale criminal activity.
Police forces across the world have limited funds to equip them to fight the trade in illegal antiquities, and they have to set priorities. UNESCO says during the health crisis, reduced surveillance, protection and resources have made a bad problem harder to address. Closed museum and archaeological sites have looted on a large scale, and the organization observes an increase in sales, although no figure has been mentioned.
There are now markets in the Far East, in China and elsewhere, and also in South America, and to some extent in the Gulf. So it's a trade, it's a problem that is growing in terms of market, and therefore the knock-on effect of that is the source countries get targeted more frequently.
Years of conflicts in Iraq and Afghanistan have fueled the illegal trade, allowing militants to raise arms and launder money.
In the last few years of groups looting and stealing material for resale for potentially criminal or terrorist activity. There are estimates from the few millions to the tens, hundreds of millions about the annual cost of illicit antiquities and illicit trafficking.
As Afghanistan becomes increasingly isolated from the international community, concern is growing not just for its people but its heritage. Organizations like the Blue Shield and UNESCO are bracing themselves for an increase in the illegal trade. Smugglers and organized crime are among those who profit from a breakdown in societal structure during war and civil unrest. Stone says he saw it happen back in 2003 when Iraq fell into a hiatus after the ruling government was toppled and the army was disbanded by the allied forces. With no government structure, people turned to other ways to make an income and survive.
Large amounts of farm produce, olives, lemons, etc., sitting rotting by the side of the road. The local farmers turned to the only other crop that they could harvest, which was below ground antiquities. They would be paid peanuts, $5, $10, $20 for an object. The middleman would get $500, $1,000 for the same object, and that would then go up the chain to be sold quite often for tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands.
With no governmental structure, people turn to other ways to make an income and survive. The illegal trade is now even more difficult to police. Online sales on commonly used websites have widened the market for even the smallest tokens of antiquities. Stopping the demand for this black market is key, but that relies on collectors understanding the ethical issues behind the objects they crave and demanding to know the provenance of all the items offered to them.